Hello everybody, this is Brad Bolenbaugh of Apostle Games coming to you live from this time it's really going to be spring, of North Carolina of the United States of America. With spring finally getting here, we've been hard at work on some new features of Age of Tribulation, so come on in and let's check it out. Alright guys, so here we are in King's Landing, and this developer log is going to be all about the new mercenary classes. I want to go over and kind of show the system of how you hire mercenaries and just kind of talk about them for a little bit because they're going to be such an important part of this game. And obviously a very important part to the survival of your character. So as I said, here we are in King's Landing, and this is a new building. Before it sat empty, but now it's actually being used. So this building right here, which this little plaque of a dragon shows that this is what they call a guild office. The guild is a mercenary guild, and each town is going to have a guild office with somebody standing behind the counter, and each office will have a billboard here or a town bulletin that you can walk up to and just click on it. It says view the town bulletin. Yes, we would. And what it does is it zooms you into this town bulletin here, and in the final game there's going to be all sorts of different kinds of postings, but right now all I have is the Mercenaries Guild. But basically what it says is the Mercenaries Guild need a hired hand, perhaps a general laborer. These desperate out-of-work misfits are willing if you have the coin. Then it says here, choose a mercenary. Initial payment can be made in the guild office, then daily coin will go directly to your hired help. Miss a payment and you won't come home. So basically what this is saying here is you use this board to choose which class of mercenary you want, and there's a total of 6 different mercenary classes. Once you choose the mercenary, the game remembers that you want to walk back into the guild office and then pay the person, and that's also when you select your mercenary's level. The amount of money will be dictated by the level of experience of your mercenary. So like if you have a mercenary, if you want to hire a level 1 sellsword, for instance, he's going to be a lot cheaper for his initial payment than, let's say, a level 5 sellsword. But you can really essentially pick any level of mercenary that you can afford. So this will be really, really nice later in the game when you have like a level 10 mercenary who's killed in your game, and because this game is permadeath, you won't have to go back to a guild office and hire a level 1 sellsword to replace your level 10 and then have to somehow rebuild him, from scratch. That would be a completely imbalanced approach to a role-playing game. Instead, you can just skip right back to level 10 and make the payment, and that's going to be really nice for an easy flow of Age of Tribulation. So that's the way I decided to handle hiring party members. You get to pick which class you want them to be, but it's again, you got to have the money for it. And then there comes the daily wage. Each mercenary that you have in your party, you have to pay them a certain amount, and that's also based on their experience level. So, again, a level 10 sellsword is going to cost a lot more of a daily wage than a level 1 sellsword would. So that's something, like financial management is going to be an aspect of Age of Tribulation. So, okay, so we'll go ahead and click on this seal right here, and it's going to bring up the 3 different classes that are available in King's Landing for this day. So every day there's going to be a rotation of 3 different classes, and again there's a total of 6, but each town is going to have its own billboard. So if there's a particular class that you want to hire and you don't see it in the town you're in, just go to another town that day and you'll probably see, or there's a good chance that you'll see, and if not, then the next day most likely you will see the class that you want to hire. So let's go over the first one. Again, is a sellsword. I used him as an example earlier. The sellsword is basically a very kind of a general well-balanced class. They don't really have any weaknesses or any particular strengths, They're just kind of run-of-the-mill. I think they're actually pretty good. They're good, of course, with a sword. They specialize in swords, but they also are pretty good with shields and being able to block attacks. At level 4, they get the broadsword, which is one heck of an awesome weapon. And they're, you know, again, just a very solid, balanced class without any real strengths or weaknesses. The next class is the bowman. The bowman, of course, specializes in bow and arrows and also crossbows. They're really good at hitting like critical hits, essentially. They are a little bit slower because they're firing an arrow. But they when they do hit, they tend to hit critical strikes, and they do quite a bit of damage. So these guys are really, really nice to have. But of course, they're a little more, not quite as hardy. They don't have as much life, but they do have more faith. So that's a nice thing. And most of them wear some sort of leather armor. You will never see a bowman in plate armor. So in fact, plate armor is reserved for this next class, the Hedge Knight. The Hedge Knight is essentially a tank of Age of Tribulation, of the Mercenaries. These guys are really good at absorbing damage. They have a high protection percentage, along with the ability to wear plate armor, which makes these guys pretty awesome. And they also have a high blocking ability percentage-wise. So these guys are probably, if you're looking for a meat shield, this is the class you want a meat shield for. They don't do a ton of damage, and they don't have a very high finesse, so they're kind of slow because, you know, they're wearing really heavy armor and heavy shields. But man, these guys are hard to take down. And so if you have like a healer, for instance, in your party, these guys are nice to have. Just take some attention off of you. Okay, so the next set of mercenaries here, we have the Stalker. Now, a Stalker is essentially like an assassin type of class, you know, role. The assassin, the Stalker, what makes the Stalker class so unique compared to the other mercenary classes is that they have a target rate of -10%. That basically just means that they are going to be targeted by the enemy characters 10% less than the other characters in your party, such as you. And if you have a mercenary who's not a Stalker, they're going to be targeted at a normal rate, whereas opposed to the Stalker is just going to get targeted less, which is really, really nice for them to be able to just kind of stay out of the combat, but understand that you're going to be targeted more often, which, you know, can be a good thing if you're building a character that, you know, is like a tank style character. Then having Stalkers on your team would be a very good thing. These guys specialize in dual daggers, dual dirks, sync does, and the intro weapon for a Stalker is actually dual butter knives. That's how they start out the game. But by the time they get to level 4, they will have access to the dirks proficiency. Stalkers pretty much only wear cloth armor, which allows them to maintain an extremely high finesse, which is good because dual daggers and, you know, those types of weapons, handheld weapons like that, are based on finesse and not on destruction. So it's good that they don't, you know, stay in heavy armor like that. The next class is the Barbarian. Now, Barbarians are interesting because they're kind of like a Hedge Knight in the fact that they can take a lot of damage. In fact, the Barbarian's specialty is life. They have an incredibly high life percentage compared to the other mercenary classes, which kind of makes them meat shields in their own right. But of course, they're slow, they're kind of dumb, but they again have a ton of life, and they actually have bonuses to destruction, which means they hit really hard and they have a ton of life, but they don't have very much finesse, again making them slow. They don't They have shields, but they're not particularly like great at using them. But one nice thing about the Barbarian, besides the life and the high destruction value, is they start out with the hand axe, which is a incredibly powerful one-handed weapon. And when you pair that up with at level 3 they get common shields, it's a pretty nice combo. And then at level 2 they actually get a one-handed spear weapon, which has really high, I think it's overwhelming critical hits, I think is what it is. But yeah, so Barbarian again is a very solid class to have. The last class is the Brawler. The Brawler is kind of the cross between a Barbarian and a Stalker. A Brawler only uses fist-style weapons, which means he has access to Brass Knuckles at level 1. He's got access to Spiked Knuckles at level 4. He also will eventually get Punch Knives, and then eventually hand, like, claw-based weapon, Iron Claws. And what's cool about him is he's also a high finesse character, but he doesn't suffer from the low life that the Stalker and the Bowman do. He's actually relatively hardy. He has about the same amount of life as a Sellsword, but he's very fast, which means he's able to score some nice critical hits. So the Brawler is a very solid class to have. One last thing I want to show you guys before I exit out of this screen is that, as you can see, these buttons light up when you select these, but just like in character creation, you were able to highlight each one of these icons to see specifically what each one of those does, and it shows up down here in this help bar. Well, that's going to be the case in the Mercenary bulletin board system as well. So I don't have it set up at the moment, but yeah, so that's going to be a thing, so that'll be nice. So let's just pretend here that we're going to go ahead and pick the Stalker. We would click on that, and then this message comes up. He says, you have selected a mercenary to hire. Initial payment can be made at any guild office. You click OK. And then what we would want to do is we'd want to come over here and walk into the guild office here. And there's a man standing behind the corner or counter here, and there's all sorts of armor sets, and there's different weapons laying all over the place. And let's see here. This is the place you want to buy armor in smaller towns. Larger towns are going to have actual blacksmiths and stuff, but these smaller towns, you pretty much will get your weapons here in the guild office.
Hey, what do you want?
Oh, what do you want? So this is Lay Auric. He runs the guild office here in King's Landing, and as you can see, he says, why did they assign me to this backwater village? I hate it here. Yeah, what do you want? So he's kind of a pampered kind of guy. He doesn't want to be there. And in this menu here, which isn't set up, this is actually Morty's dialogue box. But yeah, this is where you would select the level of mercenary you want to hire, and then you will get some additional instructions from him. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then your mercenary will be waiting for you outside. You can talk to him and introduce yourself to him, and they'll join your party. And then that's pretty much it. That's the mercenary system. All right, guys. So I really hope you guys enjoyed developer log number 8, talking about the mercenary system. I will have this probably finished in the next month or so. So we're going to actually have a part 2 to this developer log, and we will go through the actual process. It'll be completely done. You'll get to see it from beginning to end. And yeah, so I hope you guys really like the direction that this new latest survival permadeath RPG is heading into. If you want to support us, get on Discord or get on Steam and Wishlist. That helps bring us additional traffic. I'd love to hear your guys' ideas. Love to hear what you think of what's kind of what we're doing over here, and let me know in the comments how we're doing. And as far as a release is concerned, we're still looking at probably around September, October for our demo release. We are still on schedule, but it's getting closer, so I'm getting a little bit nervous. But yeah, so hopefully you guys like what you see, and leave me a comment, and I will talk to you later. God bless. Brad out.